Okay, another great request for information from Nick Dutch. Well, here is the information from Nick Dutch. Here we go. It says here, I am a fan of your commentaries, and I was wanting to ask your perception of the doctrine of the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel as practiced by the members of Thelema and the writings of Crowley about the subjects. Well, let's start from the top. It was a religious idea, written or created by a religious person and turned into a doctrine or a dogma, and it's therefore dogmatic and religious, and therefore there may be some truth to it or there may not be some truth to it. Therefore, it is a point of view rather than necessarily a fact, but it is treated as fact by some people of a certain type, and that can create problems. As if it's like the most important thing in the whole wide world, basically it might not be. And are there different versions of the same sorts of thing in other traditions? Well, basically, yes, and they all work in slightly different ways, or they all seem to work in slightly different ways, I should say. Do I think it is necessary? Do I think that we all have holy guardian angels? Well, we might, and we might not. Do I think it? I mean, from what Crowley suggested, and do correct me if I'm wrong, because I frequently am wrong on Crowley, because I don't care for the guy. He seemed to imply that this was like some kind of essential thing that had to be done. And maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't, and does it really matter? That's the question, what really matters? Some people look to the things written of in these various different occult traditions as if they're the most important things on the face of the planet. And I just don't see that at all. I think that's possibly even a bit of a dangerous way of looking at anything written of or spoken of by these people. So I remain cautiously open and skeptical. I mean, there may be some valid psychodynamic, psychological aspect to this whole sort of importance of communion with this thing which seems to be in some religious states of mind superior to you. Maybe it's a question of accessing your superego, your, the higher power within, so to speak. And in which case then there might be some kind of important psychological importance of trying to work out what that other part of you actually thinks. So it may have some benefits, but I think it is important to carry on trying to have experiences like that to see whether there is some benefit to the experience that a person can get, and whether that is an actual benefit or a perceived benefit. But whether it is either, it's difficult to say. Now, the rest of the message says, any information concerning the great work and crossing the abyss would be helpful. Thank you. I'm unaware, without doing some extra research, what is meant by crossing the abyss. I think that's an expression of a state of mind, really, isn't it? I could easily, again, be wrong. But as far as the phrase the great work, it's been interpreted and reinterpreted and misinterpreted and doubly reinterpreted yet again by other people. And the only thing I can really say as to what the great work is either just growing up, okay, and going through the progression through life to become a more grown-up person. And that doesn't necessarily happen with the help of religious stuff, but with some people it can be useful. And the only other interpretation is to improve in the religious skills of meditation, which is a form of discipline in its own right to try and shape you into a certain type of person, such as the compassion meditation of the Buddhists was there to, I think it was the Buddhists, again I could be wrong, was there to train them so that they would be able to react instinctively in a positive way to help other people when there was some kind of natural catastrophe. So the monks in those days would have been like St. John's Ambulance or the Red Cross, going out to help people when there's like a tsunami or there's shortages of food or there's an invading army or something along those lines. So it turns you into something which could be psychologically useful. I mean, these really skilled Buddhists who did the compassion meditation actually had a fusing of two different parts of their own brain. It's because of the whole neuroplasticity, neurogenesis thing that happens when you're doing meditation. It changed the way they were built on the inside so that they were better designed to fulfill other social functions. And so there's something of use there, but you've got to work out whether you are doing something with your meditations which is right for you in your station of life and where you see yourself in the future in terms of your career, your work, and everything else that you do. So self-analysis and analysis of where you want to go with your life could be a important thing which can inform you as to how you should be doing your own forms of theological and quasi-theological practices, would be my opinion. But as far as getting all dogmatic and doctrine based about, let's say, the holy guardian angel, I don't think that's necessarily useful. All right, and I don't think there's much point in heavily promoting one particular thing quite so much without a strong skeptical component, because without skepticism, self-doubt, and other things which some people think is undesirable, even guilt, you will go crazy. All right, these are instincts which have been put there into us to help us to function better as social beings, and doing without them, in my opinion, is stupid. Okay? So move away, in my opinion, from doctrine and dogmatic stances. Try and see exercises such as the attempt to have conversation with your holy guardian angel as being something which is a personal, experiential, experimental thing, and try and divide your understanding of what the great work is into different sections and work out what it is you want to focus in on. Because I don't think that there is one particular reason to live. I don't think that there is one particular greatness. I don't think there is one particular great spirituality. And I think it's a question of even being skeptical about where you stand on the subject of what spirituality is, what religiosity is, what spiritual and occult exercises are the best under any particular circumstance, and do things for curiosity and as an experimental thing rather than necessarily as a dogmatic thing. That's my point of view anyway, as of today, kind of thing. Hope that kind of like helps, and so on and so forth. Look after yourself, stay sane, don't go crazy, don't let the bed bugs bite, and don't let the bastards grind you down.